Hello and welcome back to the Edge Gaming channel. Today we are looking at 007 First Light and we're going to look at 10 things you need to know about the upcoming title. So first of all, we've got the game developers, which is IO Interactive. Now you may have heard of these before due to the infamous Mind's Eye game. Now I know what you're thinking, oh no, it's the exact same company creating 007 First Light. Well, that is not the case. It was actually their publishing arm of the company that was involved in Mind's Eye, because Mind's Eye was actually created by Bill the Rocket Boy, okay, with the infamous former director of the GTA games, who actually claimed that GTA was trying to screw up their game, and it just wasn't true, okay. However, IO Interactive are also known for making the recent Hitman games that ran from 2016 up to 2021, which most recently had DLC missions, which included Jean-Claude Van Damme, Mads Mikkelsen, and before controversially got pulled out because of high court cases, was Conor McGregor. So they have some good stock in the gaming industry. Next up, we have got the creative approach to missions. So in the video that we were given at the State of Play, it showed that Bond was having to try and get access to a chess tournament, but he couldn't just simply walk through the front door. So he had to devise a plan of how to get inside. Now, the gameplay they showed of us was of him stealing a lighter, setting out a fire, and sneaking in through the pipework. However, if you look very carefully, when he was trying to get him through the front door by security, they were talking about he needs a key card. So I believe there was actually going to be an option in which he could probably move around with different guests or different security and actually gain a key card himself, or maybe even create his own. So there's going to be more than one way. It's going to be linear, but it's more Hitman style, where there's going to be different choices, different things that can happen in order to achieve your goals. It's not going to be as straightforward as, oh, you've got to do this. Number 3, we have got the gadgets. Now, in any James Bond game, film, book, we know Bond has got an array of gadgets at his disposal. Now, the few gadgets that we were shown in the latest gameplay was that of his Omega Watch, which gave him the access to use his laser to take down environmental objects. Then he also had smoke bombs, which allowed him to sneak through undetected. He was able to take down guards doing it. However, I think it would be simply used better as you lay down a smoke bomb next to some guards and you're able to sneak through. Then you've also got what looks like some sort of dart gun, in which he was able to incapacitate his enemies, make them throw up, different things like that, which helped him sneak past and get some of the items I mentioned earlier on. So he's going to have a lot of different gadgets, and those are just the ones we've already seen. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more at our disposal. Next up, we have got resource management. Now, you're probably thinking, resource management in a James Bond game. However, you're looking at the screen right now, you'll be able to see that 3 icons on screen. We've got his instinct meter, which when it's built up allows Bond to almost slow down time, similar to in other shooting games where you're able to almost have a focus mode where you can pinpoint headshots and other such like. However, now we're talking about his normal gadgets. Earlier we spoke about his ability to use a dart gun, smoke bomb, his watch. Now, the other 2 icons you can see are going to be for electrical and chemical. So, as Bond uses these gadgets, he's going to have to then refill them up in order to be able to use them. So this could be done in a way of walking around the world and thinking, there's a spray bottle, can use that for chemicals, or you might find loose batteries or electrical parts. These will help refill your meters so that you can use your gadgets more often. And I can imagine more you play out the game, there are going to be upgrades you can get, so you don't have to do that as often. Now, we have got brand deals. Now, in James Bond, we all know the common and iconic brands that he has at his disposal. The number 1 being the Aston Martin and Jaguar in line of his cars. Well, those brands are actually going to be featured in this game. His watch that Q gives him is going to be an Omega watch. There's also going to be the Aston Martin brand. If you watch the chase scene from the State of Play, when he's in that orange or beige car, if you look very carefully at the very back of the car, you'll be able to see that iconic Aston Martin brand. And I will be shocked if there is not a martini shaken, not stirred reference in there somewhere as well. They've also added another layer of attention to detail by actually going off to film and record what an Aston Martin engine sounds like, to give you that sense of realism. Even though you're playing a fictional world, that is really going to help embed you into that game's world. So we spoke earlier about being different ways of achieving your goals in the gameplay. Well, that's also going to be there for mini objectives towards the missions. So we see in the video where we can see that Bond is tasked, he's worked out he's a photographer and he needs a camera. Again, it's not going to be a simple case of, oh, do this thing to get the camera. There may be 1, 2, 3, maybe even more opportunities for you to get that goal. And it's not going to be just simple a linear, which really helps the replayability of the game. Now, next up, we've got bluffing and eavesdropping. This is where, for me, the real spy sense of James Bond comes into the gameplay. There's going to be a time when, no matter how many gadgets you've got, no matter how many bullets you've got in your pistol, it's not going to be enough to get you through a certain area or to progress the mission and the story. So this is where eavesdropping specifically is going to come in, where Bond is going to be tasking gaining entry to a restricted area. He's going to need to listen into the NPCs, maybe as you're walking around or even as part of a cutscene, and then you have to go and interact with that NPC or another NPC in that area and give the correct information in order for you to proceed. But you've got to be careful with this, because as you can see, there are 2 options that Bond can give. You can either give the right option or there's a second option. Now, that second option may also be able to progress the story, but there's also that chance that it won't be, and it will absolutely screw Bond out of what he needs to do, and it could even result in a mission over, so you've got to be careful. Next up, the bluffing aspect we talked about. So during stealth missions, there's going to be times where you're going to have to sneak through an area and you may get caught. Now, you will have the option to then bluff the enemy. Penetrator tester, anyone? So you need to make sure that you're catching that point in the game. And also, you can't just do it to anyone. If you're doing it to a manager of the security, for example, they're not going to believe that you're someone else. They're going to know who's under them. However, the runts of the organisation, they're not going to have a clue, and they're just going to listen to you. So that's with the opportunity for James, like, oh no, they're in another area. So make sure you're being careful who you're trying to bluff. Next up, we have got a license to kill. Now, during the gameplay, we often saw Bond in brawls rather than standard gunplay. So it is my belief that it's not going to be like an Uncharted where you can go, right, I'm just going to shoot my way through every altercation that Bond faces. I think the only time that that's going to be able to be used is almost in a self-defense capacity, where the NPCs openly decide to shoot you. That is when License to Kill is going to show up on your screen, and that's where the gameplay and the gunplay aspect of the game is going to come into play. And to finish off, we have got release date and pre-order bonuses. So for those of you that were excited to kind of play this year, I'm afraid that's not going to be the case, as the game's not coming out till next year within the first quarter on the 27th of March. However, with the bummer of that news, let's move on to the pre-order bonuses. So for those of you that are rich enough and have got the money for the Legacy Edition, that's going to cost a hefty $259.99. We have got lots in that Legacy collection. You are going to have access to a golden gun figurine, as that's going to come with a certificate of authenticity with several bullets in there. It's also going to have a secret compartment. Alongside that, we're going to have access to 4 deluxe skins. One such skin is the skeleton skin that famously was in the Daniel Craig Spectre film. There is also going to be gadget skins as well. You have access to gold gadgets and also primary weapon skins in the case of your pistol. And then also there is a lovely black and gold steelbook collectors, which I can't be honest, seems to be a bit of a dying art in video games these days. I remember like 10 years ago, steelbooks were all the rage. Now, not so much. So this is your chance to get hold of that. Anyway, that was me. Leave a like, comment and subscribe. If you think I've missed anything, let me know. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.